Then. Otherwise, thank God for you having a look on this. And this is how I would desire to just share with you about our expression as men, or my expression to God as a man, and just worshiping God. Wow. So, just to tell you something concerning worshiping God, because it goes beyond just singing or just expressing our gratitude to God in our words, uh, but majorly it's music. Rather, that's the common way men express themselves to God. Talking over a scenario where you are in a church setup, and then if you are very observant, you see people lift hands, people bow down. Everyone does his expression depending on how he is affected or the impact of what he understands on the relationship between him or her with his or her God. And it is different from one person to another person, but then the word of God is clear. See, when he says to worship him is in truth and in spirit, then it calls for understanding. Do I understand the truth? Do I understand what to worship in spirit means? Then we'll be good to go. So, uh, our God is source of rain. He reigns in power. He is awesome in power with all the magnificent power. He loves, and he himself is love. So expressing my worship to God is just expressing the kind of love that the good Lord has for me. hmm Uh, just to inform you that any physical expression that we make, either on altar or in any place, is there for an evidence to a mortal being, a living man, or any other living creature, that there is something happening inside your life. So when I lift hands, it's just a symbol of expressing a surrender to God. But then it is driven, if it is genuine, it is driven by what is happening inside. That's all. That's why we ought to understand, because it's very easy to do a drama in the pulpit, because at times we find ourselves, someone is driven by personal desire to seek attention of the people, wrong motive. But God intends that we be sober in our mind and we be contrite in our heart when we are doing His things. I mean, understanding what He desires, what He expects of you in anything you do. So, what about in our worship setup? Let's say you're in a church service. Just to inform you, or just to share with you maybe an insight, that any physical expression, any posture you can disfigure your body to fit in that day, that particular hour, is an expression to man who is able to see by the physical eye that there's something happening in your life. So if it is genuine, then thank God. If it is always sincere expression you do make, then thank God. And it is an expression you are making to God, not because God is not able to see whatever is happening in your life, but is an evidence to man. It's a revelation to man that there's something God is doing in that particular time, that particular hour, in that particular session, in that life. And then to inform you It is very dangerous to operate carnally. When you are carnally minded, you want human vain glory, vain self worth. It means someone diverts from doing it the purpose of personal link with God, then seeking trapping attention of man. Lifting hands, sign of surrender. When I say, Lord, I lift you on high, it means I'm surrendering. What my hands confirm maybe is just a symbol to people that I'm surrendering to God. But if the heart is not surrendering and it's not contrite and you're not sober in your mind at that time, there is only between you and God you are doing that expression, then it means it is stage drama. Ah, it's very easy to be humble before God, but then also very difficult unless you overcome any hindrance that seems to be lifting itself above God in your life. That is fighting your flesh desires. From the children of Israel, you can just borrow the context of the time they were to meet God and they were afraid. See, when Moses first met God in that desert, when watching over the burning bush, and he met God, he wanted to maybe question why is this bush hosting fire, then it doesn't burn. You see, when he came to a point of taking a step and going forth, he found himself having connection to God that he didn't expect. Then that point is spoken to about the children of Israel. You see, when he goes there, there's something I wanted to see. When they are in Egypt, they speak about allow my people to go and worship in the desert. Allow us to go and worship God in the desert. Now, was God's plan for fulfillment. He wanted these guys to go and meet their God in person, where he met God himself. And now, see, it comes the day to meet their God and they're afraid. I wanted to see the difference between fearing God and being afraid of God. These guys were just afraid of God. They were afraid of what would happen, but they didn't fear God. The fear of God was not in them. That's why they could even divert, worship idols instead of worshiping the true living God. So the same let me borrow idea from that. Are you afraid of God or you fear God? Ask yourself. So whatever you're doing implies you fear God or you're just afraid of God. And when you are on the altar worshiping God, leading people in worshiping God, be real, ensure you have personal connection with God, connect yourself to the source, sober in your mind. Your conscience tells you as day and night is that you are before God and you are expressing yourself to God. Not force yourself connecting people to God, but when you are true, the truth emanates from your life to the people. It even triggers, revokes the spirits of the people to connect to God at personal level, right? Uh, there's much to speak about worship, but let me just touch on expression. When we are singing to God or leading people rather in worshiping God, and I want to be clear to you that if you get engaged in stage drama, then it's a little distraction. Just to maybe finalize this short talk, be real, have the word of God, let the truth of the Lord dwell in you, the word of God, that you may increase in his knowledge, that you express what you're sure of about him. That when you say, Lord, I lift your name on high, you understand what you're doing. Like much of the time we sing good songs, but then we don't understand the expressions. Some say, Lord, I give you my heart, and you don't know where your heart is. I give you my soul. It will be very sweet if I know that I'm understanding what I speak, and I'm sure my conscience is rightly telling me that I'm worshiping God. So, also worshiping God with your personal life. Like maybe you reach a point you need not to speak to somebody, but then he sees how you live, he sees how you handle tensions in life, and he sees like God is there. Like the sense of worship is people experiencing who God is. So through your life, even as a young man, a young lady there, God can manifest. Times see God called you unto himself with all your weaknesses, with all your strength, with all your knowing, with all your understanding. But then you have to understand, never feel enough before God. Desire to be filled every now and then, the knowledge of God, the fullness of Christ, or the truth of the word of God. God bless you. Bless you. This is Bonke Okumu. And to be more, maybe have more clips about other things, connect to YouTube, Bonke Okumu channel, and you'll find there. Pleasure, and above all, I pray that God will help us understand more and more all that we do in His name. If it is to worship Him, that He desires all mankind to worship Him, we'll understand better and better to personal level that our intimacy with God, we have to desire to know the truth and desire to connect Him and be one with Him in spirit. God bless you. Bless you. Otherwise, you are already blessed to be a blessing. If you have this salvation, then you are blessed to be a blessing in every aspect of life. The fruit of the righteous is the tree of life, and he who is wise in so. So let everything you do in worshiping God, in doing everything, aim at glorifying God, expressing who God is, and God will surely be your God. Be blessed.